Yeah, hello. So this is my session on the Devtoberfest. My name is Silva Jayasinghe, and I'm a software developer at SAP at the CAP team. And today I'll talk about how to boost your developer experience for CAP Java development. So first of all, a quick heads up what CAP Java is about. So CAP is a cloud application programming model. And you can use CAP basically to build your business applications on BTP, either in Node.js or for Java. Today we're gonna cover Java. And yeah, so what I'm gonna show you today is like how you could really like increase the productivity or your developer experience dramatically when building the applications. Yeah. So first of all, we'll switch it to a terminal. So I've prepared a small application. Okay. And first I want to show you how to come from like when you have cloned your application or just created it, how to open it in the IDE. So we do this with VS Code today. Most of the stuff today with VS Code. So you can just hit code. And here you are. So first of all, how does a CAP Java application look like? It's basically a multi-module application with most of the time 3 different modules. A database module, SRV module, which contains the primary service. And in case you have a front end, there's also an app folder. But today we have no front end. Okay. And one key point is for CAP Java applications that CAP Java applications are based on Spring Boot. So Spring Boot is a pretty popular Java application development framework. And CAP Java or the CAP Java tools, they hook into Spring Boot. So when you build a CAP Java application, you're basically building a Spring Boot application, but with like all the goodies that you can do with CAP. And you can read about it on the documentation page that I've showed before. So we have, for example, a data model, which is here in this case pretty easy. It's just about books. Yeah. Then you define your services that are exposed to your UI. In this case, it's a simple service with a single projection on the books entity that I've shown before. And then a little bit of Java code. Yeah, as mentioned, it's a Spring Boot application. So this has a main class that basically starts up or bootstraps the application. And then you can have custom code for any custom behavior on your CAP application. In this case here, it's only one piece of custom code. It's a custom handler that basically modifies any books that are read from the database. Yeah. And here, every books with a stock greater than 200 get an addition to its title, which says discounted. We'll see this handler a little bit more in the steps following. So when you want to like work on your application or even just run it, you have different options. Yeah, the most straightforward option and also the most robust and like most secure option is to start it with the Spring Boot plugin of Maven or the Maven Spring Boot plugin. You can do so like this. So what's happening in the background here, or what you can see scrolling by on the terminal, is at first the CDS build. So the CDS sources, for example, of the domain model and service model that I've shown before are compiled into an OData EDMX and also into SQL. And after that, the Spring Boot plugin is used to start up the application. So as you can already see, this takes a little bit of time. I don't have a stopwatch with me, but I guess it might have been about 20 to 30 seconds. But once this is up, oh wait, is this good enough? Yeah, maybe. You can query the service that you have just started. As mentioned, we don't have a UI here because it's not important for my demonstration. But yeah, you can query all books and get back to books with this data. So now imagine you get the task that this text that is added in this custom handler should be different. For example, like this. But if you want to see the change, you need to restart the application. And this will basically take the same time as before. Maybe a little bit faster because somewhere something might be cached. So at least you have time to take a drink or get a coffee. And yeah, you can see now the handler is changed. So, well, obviously, this should be faster, especially for bigger projects where you have really huge CDS models and a lot of Java code. This startup process gets even slower. Yeah, it could be up to a minute or even more than a minute or minutes. And for every change that you want to see taking effect, restarting this thing is like really a waste of time. However, I've seen a lot of cases where developers just work like this because they didn't know about the capabilities that we have in the meantime added to capjava. Or basically that most of them, or partially, they are capabilities of Spring Boot, and with capjava we are nicely integrating to those capabilities. Okay, let's first stop this one, close this one, close this one too. Okay, first we wipe changes. So I've prepared the change that I'm gonna do now. And from the name of the tag, you can already see what I have done. So I've added a dependency to the Spring Boot developer tools. Spring Boot developer tools are tools made by the Spring Boot team to increase your development efficiency. So they can, or other way, one important part of them is that you have a so-called restart capabilities. And then this is a special class loader in your Java application that can detect any changes and can restart the Spring Boot application context without restarting the JVM in order to like load the changed files and yeah, to make them visible for you. So we now start this like we did before. Again, takes a while. Do it again. There was some other process running in the background still interfering with this one. Hopefully this works now. Okay, here we are. So again, we have the same two books. We want a new text. And you see, without me restarting this manually, the application text, the context restarted, and it restarted in 0.5 seconds. So like, I don't know, order of magnitudes faster. So you can already see this in the response. It has the new title. So this is nice. Yeah, so you could just work along yeah, change your application and see the effect nearly immediately. Most of the time, it takes you more time to change to the browser or to the terminal window than restarting this thing. Okay, so, but this was still Maven on the command line, but we are in an IDE, and maybe we want to use IDE features. For that, we can start the application, at least in VS Code, directly from the code window with one of these two buttons. I take debug. We see here below, the Java application is just started in 5 seconds. And again, we see this code. And we just change it back. And it also here in this case restarted the Java application. And we see the old text again. So this is nice. So for example, in case you wanted to debug your handler code, you just set a breakpoint, make your request, and boom, you are like in your Java code and can debug it. This is also possible with Maven. Yeah, you can start Maven in a special mode where you can attach with a debugger after you have started your Maven process, but this is much more convenient and comfortable. Okay. What I've just shown has one drawback, and this is that the Spring Boot developer tools only look at changed Java code. Yeah. But most of the time in Java applications, you don't work only on your Java code handlers or Java handler code, but a lot, where is it? On your data models. And if you just start your your application from the IDE, it doesn't know about the CDS code. It takes the result of the prior CDS compilation as the SQL file for initializing the database and some CSV data and so on, but it doesn't detect any changes. So for like the whole scope of a CapJava application, we as the CapJava team have developed a counterpart to the CapNode.js CDS watch command, which is really a nice thing. Yeah. And we have built a Maven for the Maven CDS plugin. We have built the watch goal. So we have a command called you call Maven and then not Spring Boot, but CDS:watch. This is from the command line output. It is pretty similar to the initial Maven Spring Boot run, and it does nearly the same thing. So it at first does an initial compilation of the CDS sources. And once this is done, it spins up a Spring Boot application. So it's basically all the same. Again, you can query for books. What's different now? You could add or edit your CDS model. And once you save it, you can see this process below here is already starting again a CDS compilation. And as a CDS compilation ultimately also results in changed resources for your Spring Boot application, the Spring Boot developer tools that are also active pick up this change and reload the Spring Boot application. So the CDS build itself took like, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 seconds. And then the application context reload took like 1 or 0.5 seconds again. And hopefully we see the result. Yeah. So now the description, which was empty before, has a default value that we have just declared in the model. Yeah. So this is nice, but yeah, then think a few minutes back. Again, if you want to have this in the IDE, yeah, you need to do it a little bit different. So as there's no, like, at least currently, no deep integration of our CDS build, or the Maven CDS plugin, you need to have the CDS compilation itself on the command line. Yeah. For this, we have we have built a new goal, which is called auto build, not watch, but auto build. The difference is that we don't spin up a Spring Boot process with that, but only have this automatic CDS build. And then you can have your Java process or your Spring Boot process wherever you want. For example, let's start it from the IDE. So I will try this now. One important point here is, first, let me stop everything. We don't mess up. Okay. And then we also reset all the changes that we have done so far. We need a mechanism called trigger file for the Spring Boot dev tools. Because the Spring Boot dev tools, they react on any change within the project that is kind of relevant to your project. And when you have this auto build running in the background, and for example, performing a CDS compilation, a SQL file is generated, and this EDMX file for OData, and Java class files with interfaces for typed access in SQL, which are, depending on the size of your project, could be like a lot of files. And if you change a lot of files at once or in a short amount of time, the Spring Boot developer tools can get confused. And for that, they have introduced a mechanism called trigger file. And we have built this auto build goal that I will just show in a second, in a way that it performs all the changes or the whole CDS compilation. And in the end, it touches a trigger file. Yeah. And the Spring Boot process that we are going to start needs to configure such a trigger file so that this tightly integrates with the auto build. Yeah. And I will just show the needed configuration quickly. It's not much. Yeah, I just didn't want to mess it up with any typos, so I prepared it in Git. So it's just the property is called Spring DevTools restart trigger file, and then you name it .reload trigger, which is basically just the default. But you have to declare it here. Okay, and we'll start this. This is the mentioned auto build. It just does one initial compilation of the whole thing. I think it's already finished. Yeah. Here in the log, you can see that the dev tools are properly started. Oh, we still have our breakpoint active. We don't want a breakpoint now. Oh, we use a German word now. So we change the handler again. And in the background, this was detected. Basically, it was detected by the auto build. And the auto build saw, okay, this was not a CDS change, but only a Java change, but still it touched the trigger file, and the Spring Boot application context restarted. So it now says in the title, billiger. And ultimately, we do some changes to the model too. So, we add a new element and read more books. Save that one. And now in this terminal window here, the auto build picked up the CDS change. Yeah, build is already over. And I think the Spring Boot context also restarted. You can create a service again, and you can see it has a new element with a default value of a very good year and a new description. So now you can have like a CDS auto build in the background running and can perform anything what your IDE is capable of with the Spring Boot Java application. Debug it, profile it, or you name it. Okay. This was all that I wanted to show in VS Code. But there are also other IDEs. Basically, you could use Java with all Java IDEs that are capable to import Maven projects. VS Code is maybe a preferred one because we have very good CDS tools in VS Code. Also Business Application Studio, which is more or less the VS Code in a browser. It's also good. It also runs with Java. But a lot of especially experienced Java programmers like to use IntelliJ. And I quickly wanted to show IntelliJ because the initial project import with IntelliJ has a minor bump that we as a Java team cannot really fix, but you as a user can easily fix. Okay. On that. So one other comment regarding IntelliJ idea is that you could really nicely work with the community edition. You don't need to get the ultimate edition unless for licensing reasons, but yeah, as a Spring Boot application is just a plain old Java application with the public static void main method that you can just start. Well, load the Maven project. I don't know what happens then. Well, why does it look like that? Maybe I just messed up my IntelliJ. Normally there should be like a nice hierarchical project explorer, which is gone. Nevertheless, then I just explain it. So as mentioned before, CapJava or the CDS Maven plugin is generating code. Yeah, these interfaces for typed access to your domain model. And this generated code is not generated to the main source folder, but to a special source folder. Yeah? And this one you need to manually configure in the project configuration of your imported CapJava project. So normally this is command arrow down, and then you are in the project configuration, and there you can need to add or configure the Java source passes, and then you add the source pass with the generated code, and you're good to go. Because normally, if you just import the project and just start from scratch, this source folder is not added, and then the first thing you see is a bunch of build errors, and then you ask yourself, what is wrong here? What have I done wrong? Nothing. You just need to fix your project configuration one time. Yeah, but as said, somehow I just messed up my IntelliJ. Nevertheless, so this was all for the topic of restarting or not restarting your projects and how to import them to the IDE. There's one small addition that I wanted to show, again in VS Code. Also in the area of developer efficiency and optimized turnaround times. But here more in the area of how to manage your external dependencies. So since one of the last releases, CapJava or Cap as a whole, now also supports Postgres as a production-ready database. Yeah, formerly we only supported SAP HANA, but due to a lot of requests from the community and customers and so on, we decided to also support Postgres as a production-ready database, so with full table lifecycle and so on. In addition, we also, for a long time, supported SQLite, and for Java, we also supported H2, but those two are only for development purposes. So now it's SAP HANA and Postgres. And the speciality with Postgres, or one thing to notice, is that in contrast to a HANA database, a Postgres database can easily be run on a container, a Docker container. HANA in theory can also be run as a Docker container, but it consumes a lot of resources, and it's not as snappy as you would like to have it. But a Postgres Docker container is really nice. Yeah. And why this is relevant or important is the fact that once you have Postgres supported in Java, you need to ask yourself, so, okay, where's my Postgres database running now? So, and who's taking care of it, and who's starting and stopping it? Is it me? Or is this Postgres instance maybe running in the cloud on a hyperscaler, or yeah, obviously on my own machine? Have I downloaded the binary from the internet? Have I installed it with an installer, or have I got a Docker image? Yeah. And what I want to show here is the case with the Docker image, so Docker container in the end. And as mentioned in the very beginning of this session, Java builds on Spring Boot, and Spring Boot has introduced in one of the last releases, in the 3.1 release, a support for test containers, not only during tests, but also like when spinning up the whole application. So Testcontainers is a library that lets you control the life cycle of Docker containers for a given application. It could be a Java application or any other application, and it could be a test, or it could be just something else. And here in this case, it's just something else. It is a Spring Boot application, but not in the normal main folder, because this must not be started at production time, but it's in this test folder. Yeah. Okay, so you have it here in SRV source test, and then the test application. This is where we're going to start it. But before we start it, I want to show you what's special about it. It's located directly next to a database configuration, which in turn integrates with the test containers APIs. So this is a Spring configuration that in the end will start up a Postgres Docker container. Yeah, and then the idea is that you can just start your Spring Boot application, and the complete Spring Boot framework plus test container is taking care of having your Docker container ready once the application is started, and also to clean up the Docker container when the application is shut down. Yeah, and this is what we're going to try now. So fingers crossed. That didn't work. Yes. This is, I haven't prayed enough to the demo gods before. Maybe try it one time more with the main Spring Boot plugin. So as before, this takes a bit to do the whole compilation. Actually, it's not really needed, but yeah, here we go. Last try. When you start this with the Spring Boot plugin, you have to type Maven Spring Boot test run and not Maven Spring Boot run, because we want to run the test class. Wow, okay, so this worked now. A lot of output. And there's also interesting output here, because here this green column is all the output from the Docker container that was started by Testcontainers. Yeah, so you will see your database output also as part of this application log here. So the Spring Boot Testcontainers integration found my running Docker desktop instance, and then took it to download the Docker image for Postgres, or just took the one that I had downloaded before, and started a container from this image. And in the end, capjava is running on top of it, yeah, using Liquibase to apply the SQL files generated by the capjava compiler to this running Postgres database. And we can have a quick look, or like proof that it's actually running. So here is the running container, Postgres version 13, and an additional container, Ryuk, which is a tool by Testcontainers that takes care of closing down this container once like it's not needed anymore. And as we'll check. Oh wait, we can quickly, like as a final note, because this application also has a UI. We can just show the UI. Of a capjava application running on a local Docker Postgres container. Okay. And here you go. These are our books, and served by a Postgres database. Coming back to this Ryuk container, I will now finish this process here. We go back to the Docker dashboard. We still see the running container, but in a few seconds, it will disappear because this Ryuk has detected that the Java application, or the application with the Testcontainers libraries, has vanished, and then the container is not needed anymore and stopped and cleaned up. This was for databases. Yeah, but if you think this a step further, or think this more generic, you can take any like external dependency, be it a message broker or some external service, or if you're, for example, your application is built up of many services and you are only working on one, you can have all the other components running as a container with Testcontainers integration in Spring Boot. And only the one that you're working on is like from your VS Code and actually started. Yeah. Or security service or whatever. Yeah. So this is a super powerful utility, and yeah, it's basically ready to be used with capjava applications. Yeah, and with that, I think I'm done. So don't know whether I need to push any buttons here.